I was surprised to see that there was going to be a movie about Eva Hesse. Eva didn't receive the kind of attention that she deserved until very late in her career, although she herself died very young. We're talking about someone who endured firsthand what it meant to go through the Jewish persecution in Nazi Germany, who had a mother who was suffering from terrible bipolar disorder. So she was someone who, as the younger of two siblings, was really looking for her own life. But as a result of all of the things I've just mentioned, she was also very separated from her family. And she lost her mother. Eventually, her father remarried someone else, whose name, incredibly, was also Eva. And you can imagine all kinds of Oedipal and strange issues having emerged as a result of him marrying another woman whose name was also Eva. And this woman, when she becomes married, changes her last name, and so she becomes Eva Hesse. So now there are two Eva Hesses. And both of them develop brain tumors and have to be treated for the exact same thing in the exact same hospital by the exact same doctor. It's extraordinary. This woman was struggling with identity issues all of her brief life. As I say, I was really surprised to discover that a fabulous documentary was done on her work, which I went to see at the Film Forum in New York, and it's entitled just Eva Hesse. I strongly recommend that you see this film. I have to imagine, though, why it is that the filmmakers chose to omit some of the most important primary material in Eva Hesse's life, namely a recorded interview, and the only one that I know of, and probably the only one there is, with Eva Hesse, which is not actually shown in the film except for a few seconds. Eva Hesse was more willing to think through things than to do them immediately. Her anxieties, existential and artistic, are a very important part of any artist's creative gestation. I don't take those accounts of artists that burst onto the scene when they're 19 as geniuses very seriously, because those are not people who have the lasting power of genius. Eventually, her work managed to find a way to give us something that no other art did. She was the best representative of the escape from minimalism, with its rigidity, its impersonal symmetry all around. There's nothing wrong with this, because no matter what you do, you have to always look at form. Whenever you discuss art, form is always there. So a hyper-formal work, a hyper-formal school, a hyper-formal movement, such as the minimalists came to be understood, is a system in which it is necessary to look at form and then derive aesthetic conclusions and inferences from that afterward. But she thought that there's only so much you can say through the medium in hyperformal symmetries of minimalism. Certainly it was already under attack by a lot of critics who were never very amused. Some said that there just wasn't enough art in minimalism, and that's probably true. But Eva's work represents a kind of respectful departure from minimalism in a way where you can still continue to see that she's very formal, but she's not formal in the impersonal way that the minimalists were. She's very intimate. She's very emotional in her work. And she shows and brings back to the New York art scene, I think, and to contemporary American art, the importance of the artists being sort of there, being felt through their work. Ultimately, your work has to stand by itself and for itself. The artist can be absent, but should be called back, should be inducted back into the work by the demand of the work to make the viewer question the intention and the spirit of the artist in the creation of the work. These things are extremely important. I just don't see any other artist beyond Eva Hesse who could be, on one hand, as formal as she was with her use of materials, and as intimate and as poetically immediate as she was. Because you really do feel as if she's including you, as if she's talking to you through an emotional language that converses with these materials in a way where the space is a joint space between you and her. It's as if she's using, whether it's rope or tubes or any other of these extensions, she just seems to be almost reaching out with these, as if they were arms or fingers in some way. Almost everything about her work has nothing in the way of alienation, or putting anyone off, or holding the viewer at a distance. But in a way, there's a kind of embrace in so much of her work. There's the importance of the work standing together and almost showing you that we are all in a kind of bond. And that bond becomes quite literally a bond in her work, because she was experimenting with different forms of glue and different forms of polymer and adhesives. So you do see that things come together in what I think is a very organic manner, even though she was using materials that were not necessarily organic. But she felt as if she needed to go beyond tradition, and she needed to even invent her own medium for this. I know that where art works for me, whether it's a medium that I understand, whether it's a content that I'm familiar with, whether it's a message that I've heard before or not, by the degree to which I sense that the artist is trying to reach me, that is considering me. Because I've made the work real by going to see the work, in the same way as the artist made it real by creating it in the first instance. We have to complete the conversation by going to wherever it is being exhibited. We have to feel as if that work is making us think something about ourselves. This is what art is. If art's ultimate mission isn't to connect to us as viewers, to make us feel the importance of that connection, then I don't know what art is, because it is a relationship. One of my favorite artists, Andrew Newman, had one of his shows, and I remember seeing this probably 9-year-old boy, and he was looking at one of his industrial wall panels, and the kid just kept looking at the symmetry and the back and forth nature of this camera on this screw mounted motion, and the camera acquiring the image that was actually behind it laid out directly onto the panel, so you're able to see both the image directly with your own eyes, and then to see a sort of this camera in motion itself capturing that same image. And after about maybe 3 minutes, which I imagine for a 9-year-old must be an eternity, he turned to the artist and said, "It makes my head hurt, but in a good way." And I think he, for me, wrote the epitaph for all visual appreciation. I think the best art should make our head hurt in a good way.